All right. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. Welcome. We have something rare and different for you, a Mondavi wine.
Right. I've never done that before. But it's interesting because we were in Trader Joe's the other day and happened to see this Napa Vista. As we are wont to do, we had said, let's try it. Why not? So when we picked it up and actually read the label, it's from Peter Mondavi Sr, who's since passed away, actually
100 years old.
101 when he passed away in 2016. 1 year younger than Robert Mondavi. So it's a great story. It's kind of like your typical, almost like I want to say your quintessential romanticized story of a winery family in many ways.
It's kind of like a little of Dallas.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and remember Falcon's Crest?
Yep.
That's that. So they moved there. They were as brothers working at the Charles Krug winery.
And then
Peter made the wines. Robert sold the wines. And then of course a feud ensued. Yep. A feud in the 1960s when Robert Mondavi split off and created his own winery, Robert Mondavi, which went on to do many magnificent things. And Peter since stayed with Charles Krug, and his sons have now taken that over. So they ran that winery and they continued there. So,
and in many respects it was good for the area because when you think about it, they've all kind of branched out. They had wine in their blood. I can remember back in the 1960s when you started getting the advertisements for like Gallo and Mondavi.
Oh, right. And Inglenook, remember that? And those were kind of like the wineries then.
They weren't really, and again, I was a teenager at the time, so I was
well,
no
this was
expert.
American wine, and the French ruled the wine.
Yeah, and so it really didn't have great connotation. It really isn't until the 70s when the California wine really started taking off. But this is a Chardonnay. It's a 2014. And just from the quick tasting of it now, it's your typical Chardonnay with just kind of some little twists in there. I wouldn't call this the greatest Chardonnay I've ever had by any means, but I think this is very drinkable, especially with food.
Especially with food, yeah. It's aged in French oak, which, as an sidebar, Peter Mondavi was the first one to import the French oak and use French oak in the aging of the barrels in Napa Valley. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Nice winemaking history and great contribution that he made. This isn't overly oaky, so it's not. I would not call it oaky buttery by any stretch. It's not creamy. It's got definitely the citrus. You got some apple. Things like that in there. I would say orange, some lemon, and it's got a little astringency to it.
Yeah, just a bit.
Yeah, just a little, which is why I think you definitely want to pair it with some food. How do you like it with this cheese?
That's fabulous with that cheese. Now that is.
It was a Gruyere.
That's a Gruyere.
That we also picked up at Trader Joe's. Delicious. Gruyere is so good.
Yeah. And again, another Trader Joe's one. This wasn't expensive either, was it? Was it about $12?
Oh, it was about $15
okay.
price point, which I might say for Trader Joe's and their other comparable Chardonnays is a little on the high side. So I'm not sure why they priced it that way. It is what it is, but definitely something to try just to get your palate to know different flavors and different wines. If you, like us, are similar to someone who loves oaky buttery, this is why you need it with food, because you wouldn't necessarily sit here and sip this like you would a Rombauer or a Ferrari Carano or a Mare Soleil, which is kind of leans to our flavor palette. But it's quite good. It's quite nice, and as we said, especially with some cheese. And you can pick it up at Trader Joe's, which is always a plus.
Because if you're going to be at Trader Joe's, you're going to be getting cheese. You're going to be getting other wines, and if you just want a variety of different wines you pick up, this is a good one just to kind of put in the mix, and certainly with the cheese as we're having here. Now try this, because this is the
this is the autumn cheese that is seasonal at Trader Joe's. But when you get it, the autumn I think is the best one. That's our favorite. It's very French, very creamy. It's got a definite kind of brie likeness to it, I would say, a little rindy, and it does have a nice rind, which you don't probably want to eat that unless you're really obsessed with eating rind.
Actually, it's not bad. I just had some of that rind. And
well, you're a rind person from way back. are very creamy and very delicious. It's got that briny, rindy kind of a feel to it, and that mouthfeel, and also goes great with wine.
I think it would.
So good. It's our definite favorite.
This would be okay with chicken and fish. I wouldn't put it with meat. I wouldn't even put it with a lamb.
No, I wouldn't even put it with pork. I don't think. Yeah, chicken or fish would be good.
Yeah.
The cheese is good. I would say maybe if you had like a white bean chili kind of a dish, or like a cauliflower soup, cream of cauliflower soup, something like that would go with. I wouldn't put it with anything that was too sweet, because that's just going to bring out more of the acidity in this, and I don't think you want to do that. But other than that, it's good wine for
wine to pick up.
An afternoon, a fall afternoon.
Yeah, perfect. So there you have the Napa Vista, and that is from the Mondavi family. Now, which Mondavi is it again?
Peter Mondavi Sr.
There's so many Mondavis.
Well, and you know, I mean, we're Mondavi fans from way back. So what prompted us to get this, really, once we saw it was Peter Mondavi Sr., is other than Charles Krug, I don't think we've tried a lot of his specific wines. Obviously, Robert Mondavi has a whole gamut from low end to middle to high end. We recently did a bourbon barrel aged Chardonnay that they've just come out with, which is a nice, very nice, oaky, buttery, middle of the road kind of a price point. And then, of course, we love the house wine at Hyatt, which is Canvas, made by Michael Mondavi, who's Robert's son. So, you know, can't go wrong with Mondavi one way or another. Nope. That's kind of our point.
Especially today, in today's high technology world that creates really good, affordable wines.
Absolutely, yeah. We want to support families and passing on that winemaking history and art from generation to generation. I think that's a beautiful story, and I love it.
There you go. Here you go. Cheers. Enjoy.
Cheers.